Okay, another question here from the monthly questions thread. This one's from Benjamin. My question is about writing. I was wondering about your advice on manuscript organisation, transferring from analogue to digital, and anything you have as far as a good programme that you like. I tried Scrivener, don't enjoy it much. I know, gasp. Anyway, I have a 34-page working manuscript now, but I have so much more in journals I want to add, but I'm overwhelmed. A lot of writers have this problem. There's so much information on the story and nowhere to put it. It's really important to get that stuff down somewhere for sure. I think trying to hold all of it in your mind is a recipe for getting stuck in analysis paralysis and not actually making any progress with your story. I'm a by feel writer myself, so I don't do a ton of research and collecting useful information and that type of thing for my first drafts, but afterwards I do tend to collect a bit more of that stuff. I'm also quite visual, so I like to have pictures and that kind of thing for inspiration. But I'm not hugely experienced in all the different options that are out there, to be honest. But I can tell you I use Milanote for organisation, which is really useful. You can create folders, which they call boards, on there and put stuff that you want in them, add labels to things, add arrows and that kind of thing. It's very casual and accessible and sort of modular, which I think really works for me. It also accepts links and displays them quite nicely on the screen, so that helps me feel as though things are better organised and ordered and I'm in some type of control over what I've got there, even if I'm adding a variety of different types of information. That might be good for keeping your notes in one place once you have them, but in terms of transferring stuff from analogue to digital, that's not something I really do very much, if I'm honest. I know that some smartphones and tablets have inbuilt text recognition in the camera app. I think my iPhone does something like that. I'm not sure what version it is. But if not, there may be apps that can do that for you, but I wouldn't want to suggest anything without having actually used it myself. However, what I will say is that if you end up having to manually transfer stuff over, the worst case scenario, there could actually be value in that process. It might give you a chance to cut down to what's important and helpful among all that stuff. When you review what you've got there, you might find some things you don't actually need anymore, or you only need a small part of. I think there's more value to keeping only a useful part of a document and using that than to keeping the whole thing in a big archive and maybe never really using it. So while I can't be too much help on what specific software to use, I'd suggest using that transfer process to make all your information a bit more lean and a bit more custom made to your story, rather than keeping reams and reams of it and feeling buried beneath it. In terms of actual manuscript writing software, I'm with you. I don't really like Scrivener too much either. I've used Campfire before in the past, which works just fine, has some interesting organisational stuff with it too, might be worth checking out. I've also used the BYOK app, which is newer and fully browser based. I'll link these down below. However, I do always come back to just a plain old word processor. Google Docs, MS Word, whatever you want. Apple Pages is good too if you're using a Mac device. I just tend to write my manuscript and then underneath it I have a simple bullet point list of my notes, where I want to go, things I want to remember, that kind of thing. On a basic level, that does the job for me, and it doesn't get in my way or distract me from actually writing with a load of bells and whistles. Because I think the trap with this kind of thing is burying yourself in research and preparation work and thinking that you have to have all of that stuff organised and squared away and perfect instead of actually writing. So I'd encourage you to focus on the writing part as much as you can and dip into your research as and when you need it when you get to that part in your manuscript. Apologies that I'm not more experienced with the software side and can't make stronger recommendations, especially when converting analog to digital, but hopefully some of these suggestions are useful in some way. I've also made some videos on these different softwares and I'll leave links to those down there as well if you want a bit more detail. Thank you so much for your question though and for your support.